The protagonist, standing in the middle of the corpses of his comrades in the rain and attempting to attack the creature, was lifted into the air, wounded and thrown back. The soldier is flooded with memories, pondering a strategy. He asks if there is a plan. He is told that as a commander, he must lead the attack himself and make sure there are no problems on the battlefield. His squad attacked forcibly in order to buy time. With a battle cry, they rushed at the enemy, but the soldiers began to die, one by one. The enemy was too strong and destroyed the Mirim alliance. The GLV commander survived and knew that the men he had been discussing tactics with had fled as they realized they had lost. He began coughing up blood, and when he saw before him a demon who had not been killed, he thought his hour of death had come. This demon was so strong that no one could handle it. Yu Song recalls his father's admonitions and comes to the conclusion that he was wrong. He calls out to his father, and in that moment, the demon kills him. A character is created and Tang Yu Song wakes up in bed looking flustered. He does not understand where he is. The man next to him stabs him a little and tells him that the sun has already risen, but Yu Song, not yet. He recognizes his father in the man with incomprehension and realizes that he is in his room. Yu Song thinks that he is dead and that his father is taking him to the next world. The boy decides he can take a break from these wars, but gets a punch from his father and rises with a disgruntled face. He is told to take the money for the registration fee for the martial arts pavilion, and he is very surprised by it. He looks at the money and doesn't understand what's going on. The protagonist recalls the pavilion was created by Chen Ti-gun, the best in the pavilion, but he taught only officially registered students. He was one of the best in Xi'an and was instrumental in bringing the Mirim alliance and the pavilion together. Because of the alliance, there was peace in Mirim for over 100 years. But martial arts masters, too, were divided into categories: golden spoon, silver spoon, and wooden spoon. His father worked all his life to send his son to this prestigious institution. This was happening 30 years ago, and the main character, not realizing what was going on, goes out and gets breakfast from his father. He thinks he has turned back time and sees a mission sign in front of him. His father sees nothing strange and raises a shout at his son and sends him to Qingbao. Yu Xiang recalls the subdivisions on black and white, where the former, a brilliant future awaits. The people in line speculate about what will happen on the exam, and the guy expects to pass the exam better than he did 30 years ago. When his turn comes, he is asked, what kind of assignment does he think it will be? Tan answers that there will be an exam in acupuncture and hits the target. He clarifies that he figured it out by the size of the hidden objects and successfully goes on the attack. 10 minutes before the hero arrives, people drop out one by one. These dolls were brought from Mount Juingnan and put some spiritual energy into them so that they would move like humans. The puppets respond well to punches at certain points and are suitable for the exam. The one taking the exam thinks no one will pass it, and seeing Yu Song thinks the same. However, Song is very fast and uses the 8 bone fixing technique against the dumb, thanks to which he first got rid of the weaker enemies and proceeded to the weakest one, which greatly surprised everyone watching. Because of the large amount of spiritual energy, he is unable to penetrate the large dummy, but soon presses him on the loin, forcing him to relax and piercing his knuckles through his chest. The enemy is defeated. Look surprised that you can use healing techniques like that. Yu Song is very proud of himself for remembering techniques from a textbook that won't come out until 20 years from now. With a sense of his own superiority, he is ready to do great things. A sign appears in front of him that the mission is complete. The awards are being handed out. He has to choose one of 3 additional rewards, and Thane is perplexed. The protagonist thinks he can take all 3 items, but when he is distracted and pushed, the 3rd eye of wisdom was accidentally chosen. Turning around, he sees Zhang Giho and is surprised. Giho is surprised to be known. He was one of those people who passed the exam admirably and is very strong in his own right. As he gets to know him, Sun notices a level above Ho's head and is famously surprised. What was that writing? His new friend collapses on the couch and asks to be woken up when it's over. Tang looks out the window and sees others have the same inscription and realizes that this is their power level. He begins to wonder what my level is. A girl who introduces herself as Chen So enters the room and announces that she will be the best of the best. By her name, Giho learns that her father is Chen Tigung and asks her point blank whether she passed. Just because of that, the protagonist is flooded with memories of her as the toughest woman known for her cunning. Noticing that Yu Xiang is staring at her so intently, Xiao pounces on him with a sassy look, but Song only dodges the question. Sitting down next to Giho, she says that she's capable of doing anything herself and calls him skinhead, because of which they immediately get into a heated argument. A man named Iam Ho walks into the room and announces that only 5 people have passed the exam, and at Xiao's insistence, he says Song came in first, Ho came in second, and she came in third. Everyone is surprised that Yu Xiang did the best, and Xiao is furious that those 2 were able to beat her. Later, they are introduced to their mentors and explained the rules of the school. At sunset, Ho mentions Seo's father, causing her displeasure and going home. He says goodbye to Seo and heads for home too, reflecting on the situation. It's only been one day and he's ready to improve his skills. However, this does not prevent him from oversleeping on the first day and rushing off at full speed to the pavilion. When he arrives, it turns out that his companion also overslept and suggested we spar. Yu Seong has a new mission, which is to defeat Ho. He has been in the Qingbong Library for 3 months now, where he has been learning the rules of the sword art that combines heaven, earth, and man, ever since Jang Gi-ho received a high score and entered the academy. He had been fighting with someone all the time, because of his pugnacity. He was given the nickname Demon. Yu Seong remembered that in a past life, Ho had won the highest titles and became the head of Murim Academy. From that moment on, the boy began to see Gi-ho as an obstacle. When Sun challenged him to a fight, he wanted to refuse. But then he took the risk because of his 30 years of experience. After annoying his opponent with his consent, they began a battle where Sun used the acupuncture method against Ho's sharp technique. Losing to him, the mission is highlighted as a failure. Tan loses consciousness. When he wakes up, he sees the Watcher above him, who immediately sends him to join Ho, who is performing a punishment for being late. Ho laughed at him and immediately suggested a competition to see who could duck step 100 laps faster. With delight, Sun saw that he had a mission and agreed. When he reached the physical strength limit, a certain percentage came back to him, and he abruptly overtook Ho, who accused him of cheating. Exhausted, lying on the grass, he saw Seo above him, who wondered why he wasn't in class. At first responding to her teasing, he remembered what a horrible future awaited her. He was surprised to find that his level had risen and he could now know who was what age. He and Ho are summoned to Chinti-gun, who starts reprimanding them for being late and giving them extra punishment after their studies. He lets them go and tells Seong that he'll be back here tomorrow, which upsets him. Remembering his past life as a novice, he's going to do better this time than he did in his past life. Taking his wooden sword, he begins practicing on the practice field. With each swing, he pumped up his performance even more, but he is hailed by a group of students whose leader, Sun, recognizes the sword in his hand. Memories. A heap of blows fell upon him, and the ringleader asked him to stand guard for his friend. Mocking him, he only gets angrier as he listens to Yu Seong's remarks. The main character realizes that he screwed up by taking this particular guy's sword. One of the guys on the practice field remembers that he took first place in the exam. After asking his friend to take everyone away, he decided to have a one-on-one conversation with Yu Seong, which strained the other. He introduced himself as Gong Jin-do, the leader of the pavilion group. When he tried to ask the newcomer which school he belonged to, he immediately realized that the man in front of him was not a member of any school. After promising him that he would challenge him to a fight, he decided to go home. Yu-sun could not sleep and remembered that the school of the 9 factions included people who refused the help of their parents or vice versa, got there through strength and connections. The next morning, he noticed that Ho had reached the 10th level and decided to ask Ma Pun-do exactly how to develop strength, but didn't get the answer he wanted. However, the man said he would help him with his training. He practiced with a bucket on his head that was filled with water, with which he lasted 2 hours, increasing his spiritual strength, and Pun-do led him to the next exercise, as he taught him to focus his spiritual energy. He called out to So-so, who was passing by, and asked him to show him a foot strike. She enthusiastically agrees, aiming to impress the newcomer by punching a hole in a large stone. Listening to their dialogue, he learns that So wants to pass the Dragon and Phoenix exam better than anyone else, so he realizes that he still has a long way to go. Seo started having some difficulties, which only made him angry. Pun-do advised him not to get too angry, but to hone his sword skill to harden his body. Later, on their way to their next lesson with Seo, they were ambushed by Jin-do's gang, who decided to challenge the newcomer to a fight. Seo, who intervened in time, deflected the blow and began to get angry at Do. Gathering all his fortitude, he prepared to fight him and put him in his place. A duel ensued between the two, with Seo dodging and watching his opponent's movements while Jin-do used one technique the entire time. Dodging and attacking, Song faced the vertical cut of the great mountain that Jin-do countered with. Their swords clashed, but Do's sword broke into pieces at the decisive moment and Sun's blow came at him. With a significant advantage, the fight was over. The fight ended with the hero's victory and the completion of his mission. Gi-ho arrives just in time to prevent the attack on Seo. Yu Seong is thrilled to have defeated Jin-do. He enters the library and recognizes Yong-woo as his first friend from that life. After coming to get a book on acupuncture, he begins to slowly teach Young-wee the secrets of martial arts that only official apprentices can learn. He began to believe in Wee, letting him know that anyone can become strong if they put in the proper effort. From that day on, Young-wee began to peek at their classes. Song answers the teacher's question by teasing Ho, who compared his friend to Seo Seo. Wei was very surprised that he wasn't being terrorized by older students who were just passing by. He was distracted by a new friend who was walking out of class with Ho and Seo. Later, after talking to Yon about the seniors' behavior, they agreed that this wasn't the end. Toward the end, Seo was able to inspire his friend that he can become strong. They say their goodbyes and Vi encounters strangers who have drawn their swords. A few months after being admitted to Qingbang, rumors about the Dragon and Phoenix trio begin to surface. Gong Jindu was defeated, and in his place, the trio became Zhang Kaiho, Chen Xiao, and Tang Yu Song. While talking to Chen Tigun, he learned that he would have to practice as a security guard. Depending on the result, it will depend on whether he gets into the Dragon and Phoenix exams. The skill level of the third eye, still lacking, learned Chen Tigun's level. Where to deliver the cargo. 2 bureaus refused and only Mupun agreed. The hero is dumbfounded. Why have the circumstances changed? After all, there is talk that everyone in the Mupun bureau is dead. During the dialogue, it turned out that the other bureaus lost contracts and all the goods. With Mupun did not get robbed, only because the contract was with the head of the bureau. Then, things ended badly and everyone who could, died. After borrowing a large sum of money, he went to the bureau chief Mupun and arranged for the goods to be transported to another location so that, to complete the practice without incident. As he leaves the building, he encounters strangers from the Hwasan school. Through his third eye, he realizes that it's young Cho Ran, a man from a past life.